Welcome to MMA Docs. My name is Hector. As always, thank you for tuning in. A big thank you to all of our clients. And let's get straight down to it. We got UFC Fight Night 48 and 49. Now, I love it when we have all these fights because it gives us a great opportunity to really look for some mismatches, really look for some good opportunities, really look for, a market that may be going the wrong way. People are picking the wrong guys. Just like last week, we had Formiga. I picked Formiga, bet Formiga, he won. Boch, I picked Boch. He beat Tavares. I bet Boch, won there. So those are just small examples, but going into it, there are some great opportunities. We just have to be patient, and we really have to break everything down. And so let's get straight to it. Now, the first fight night is going to be 48, and that's going to be the one taking place in Macau. And so, we have Milana Dudieva versus Elizabeth Phillips. Now, in this fight, I don't want to spend too much time on some of these because we're not going to bet them, and we can spend this time somewhere else, and talk about other fights. So, but with this one, though, it's a very interesting matchup. We got a scrapper in Phillips and a grappler in Milana. So, with Phillips, I know she's very aggressive on the feet. We've seen her already in the UFC. She's a scrapper, and she nearly pulled off the upset in her last fight. Now, the part that concerns me about her is her gas tank. I don't like her cardio. So that's pretty much Phillips there in a nutshell. And then with Milana, she's an okay striker, but her ground game, that's what impresses me. Her ground game, I like it. And she's fought better women than Phillips. Just looking at her past fights, better opposition, and she's not that far from home. So with Phillips, she's traveling all the way from Washington, all the way from the States, and Milana, she's from Russia, so very close there. And she can control on the ground, so she can have a big advantage in the grappling. So I like Milana there, but do not bet. If anything, Milana, the price isn't too crazy, but do not bet. And the next one here, also a do not bet. In a nutshell, we got Wee versus Zhikui, Yao Zhikui. Both guys very young in their MMA career. So when we get two guys very young in their MMA career, anything can happen. So we got to be real careful with that. Wee, in a nutshell, he's a wrestler. But unlike most wrestlers, his gas tank's not very good. So big concern there on that one. And with Zhikui, he's aggressive, and he has heavy hands. And his ground game is not that good. His wrestling is not good. So, like I said, with these guys being so young in their MMA career, they can rapidly improve. And I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going to go with Yao Zhikui, but do not bet. And the next one, I was looking for reasons to bet it. Wang Anying versus Colby Covington. I was looking for reasons to bet on Covington. He's a wrestler. He's going to have a huge wrestling advantage. And this one's pretty much a striker versus wrestler. He trains at American Top Team. He's best friends with Jorge Masvidal. Big wrestling edge. He's going to be able to control the fight. But as I started watching his fights and started really diving into it, the price tag he carries right now, in my opinion, is not deserving. It's not what it should be at. So I'm going to say do not bet until this guy can prove something in the UFC. And with Anying, he's got decent striking. It's okay, and his kicks are all right too. But the big thing here is going to be the wrestling. With Anying, there's no way near as good of a wrestler as Covington. A decorated college wrestler, and I like Covington for the win, but do not bet. And this other one here, Delorme versus Sasaki, Japanese prospect Sasaki making his debut. I really like Sasaki here. He almost made it for me. He almost made the cut, but ultimately he didn't. There's some better opportunities for us. And Delorme, he's a scrapper. We already know what he brings. But he's in a very tough position here. Very tough position. Coming off of losses, 30 years old. They're sending him all the way to Macau for his fight. And it's just a tough look for him. And Sasaki, I said, Japanese prospect. Overall, I'm very impressed with his well-rounded MMA game, especially his ground game. And he's just as good, if not better, everywhere than Delorme. So, and he's younger too. So I like Sasaki here. Nearly bet him, but ultimately it's going to be a pass. Same thing with the next one, Shinsho Anzai versus Alberto Mina. With Anzai, he's taking this fight on short notice, but he's a very aggressive guy, very loose cannon. He's a bit sloppy, especially his defense, striking defense, and he's dropping down to 170. With Mina, we've got a guy who's preparing for Cummings, then preparing for Westcott. Finally got this fight here, undefeated prospect, a little blown out of proportion as far as the expectations. But I can see why. He's undefeated. But until he can prove it in the UFC, we'll have to wait and see. Nearly pulled the trigger on him, but ultimately a pass. I'm very impressed with his jiu-jitsu, though, and his judo. He could be a little bit more aggressive, in my opinion, especially watching his fights. He seems to wait and be a little bit too patient. But ultimately, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking, well, he still is undefeated. But the level of competition, I'm just like, man, some of these guys he's fighting, his striking and his footwork, they need some improvement. And some positive things, his home is now Hong Kong. And it is at the last fight when he was supposed to fight Cummings, he had over 400 people there. Last fight that was supposed to be in Macau. And so he's very confident, very comfortable in Macau, and very comfortable in the UFC too. So once again, very much like Sasaki, almost made the cut. But ultimately passed. But I do like Mina. I don't think I said it for the previous one, but I like Sasaki, I like Covington, I like Mina. So I like those. I like them, and but ultimately a pass on the bet. With the next one, Mitchell versus Sai. Grappler versus striker here. Mitchell, obviously the grappler, very good submission game, and he needs to get the fight to the mat. I do like him. His price tag is a bit much, though, minus 200 or more. And I could see him getting the submission, and he probably will get the submission, but I think there's a few better spots we can bet. Sai, he's going to have striking advantage. His takedown defense is bad, so I see him getting taken down. He does have the possibility of landing a knockout shot. So, yeah, let's pass on it, especially with Mitchell traveling from the UK all the way over. So let's just pass on that one. We're getting to the ones we're not going to pass on. Then we got Yu and Yang. Ning Guangyou, another striker versus grappler. A lot of stylistic matchups. So with Guangyou, he's a southpaw. He's got serious power, knockout power. That pretty much sums him up. And then with Yang, he's going to have a big-time grappling edge. So he's a grappler here. So it's going to be, it's a tough one to predict. I'm going back and forth, but I do like Guangyou for the slight upset here. Guangyou for the upset. And Lipeng and O'Reilly, these guys are very evenly matched here. I'm going to go with Lipeng because they are fighting in Asia. And he's dropping down to 155. He's only 24 years old. But he's been subbed 5 times already. Out of his 7 losses, subbed 5 times. And with O'Reilly, he's aggressive and he's okay, but he's very sloppy. So do not bet any of these. And here we go. We get to the good ones here. So we got Dong Hyun Kim versus Tyron Woodley. Now, with this fight here, straight off the bat, right away, looking at it, Kim, I'm thinking to myself, I'm just asking myself, does the UFC want him fighting anymore? Really, if you think about it, he was supposed to fight my tocayo, Hector Lombard, who's a killer, right? And they're putting him in there against Tyron Woodley, another killer. Stylistically, this matchup is horrible because if you look at the last 2 fights, the way that Kim has fought, he has just fought carelessly. I mean, just absolutely carelessly. in a firefight. He'll tire himself out. He's going to get himself in trouble. And that's when Tyron Woodley is going to knock him out. And I am very familiar with these two guys. Now with Kim, he had that injury to Maya. And his biggest win to date is Diaz, when Diaz had no business fighting, when Nate Diaz had no business fighting at 170, and Eric Silva, who we have found out now that is a bit overrated, and they both have a common opponent in Carlos Condit. Kim got knocked out, and Woodley knocked him out. So with the carelessness in his last two fights, the way he's fought, I understand he wants to be exciting and he wants to put on a great show, and that's all great and dandy, but god damn, I'm just thinking to myself, wow, this guy's going to get himself knocked out. As I was watching the Hathaway fight, I'm thinking, oh man, I can't wait to bet against Dong Young Kim. And he's still going to go in there with the same game plan, with the same attitude, and he's going to get knocked out. And with Woodley, I am 7-1 predicting Woodley, so I have a very good understanding of what he brings. I'm 5-1 predicting Kim, so I have a very good understanding of him too. With Woodley, Kim's not going to be able to get the takedown, even if he wants it. Woodley's very, very good, very strong hips, very good takedown defense. Shields didn't get it. Dong Young Kim sure as hell is not going to get it, which means it's going to stay on its feet. And when we saw Tyron Woodley fight Jay Heron, that was a level below him, like a level of competition. And then he jumped straight to Jake Shields, who is a top guy. Then he knocks out Koscheck. He knocks out Carlos Condit. And then we see another jump to Rory McDonald, another top guy. So right now, he's right back to the level of competition he can beat. And I love Tyron Woodley here. I really do. I can't wait to bet him. And so that takes care of that one. And moving on to the main event, you got Michael Bisping versus Cung Le. Now, this one, to sum it up, Michael Bisping, he's had that terrible injury with the eye and just other injuries too. Just looking at his fight with Tim Kennedy, he didn't look like himself. And according to Michael Bisping, he only had 6.5 weeks to work out after he got the okay from the doctors. And so he couldn't do anything before that. So nothing. And so that gives an explanation as to why he performed the way he did. But then again, Tim Kennedy is underrated, and Michael Bisping is getting older, up there in age. And that price tag he carries, do not bet. Now, with Cung Le, we have a guy who is very talented, but he's a guy who's family first. He takes care of his family, very disciplined guy, doesn't party, just straight edge, really paying attention to his diet. Obviously, you can tell, very paying attention to his workouts, to everything. So he's a guy who lives a very good lifestyle, and it would not surprise me at all. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pick the upset. Le by knockout, round 2. Tyron Woodley by knockout, also round 2. And Tyron Woodley round 1, I would say. As soon as Kim gets in there and starts throwing his hands around, he's going to get knocked out. I would say Le, though. I would say round 2 knockout. And we'll bet it. We'll bet it real small. We'll bet it in one of my round robins, but it'll just be real small for Le. But yeah, it's just one of those fights that you got to pass on it unless you're betting Le. And at the juicy odds, we'll get into in a second. It's not so bad. So that sums that up, and let's get to the better card, in my opinion, and that's UFC Fight Night 49. So for the first fight of the night, we have Wilson Hayes versus Joby Sanchez. Now, I love this fight for Wilson Hayes. He's obviously making his flyweight debut, and I'm very excited about that because he's going to be fighting guys who are more his size now. And we saw what he did against Alcantara. Alcantara's a very, very tough guy at bantamweight. Just very, very good fighter. Hayes put up an excellent fight against him. Lost a split decision, but he looked very good. And with Sanchez, we've got a guy who works a part-time job. He gets up at 4:30 in the morning to go work at the UFC gym. And watching just even his most recent fight with Antonio Buenos Dias Bañuelos, Bañuelos beat him in the first round, rocked him in the first round, and if you're familiar with Buenos Antonios Bañuelos, this guy, he used to be a name, and God bless him. Now he's not in the UFC and he's still fighting, but man, it's just the Sanchez guy is way overrated. He's very reluctant when he fights. He's not very confident. He's making his UFC debut, so he's gonna have jitters, and he's taking the fight on short notice. His footwork is okay. His striking's okay, but he just doesn't have the experience yet. And I think the UFC is doing a very good thing, putting him up against Wilson Hayes here. And I see Wilson Hayes finishing this fight by submission, at worst getting a 30-27 decision. But Hayes should finish his fight if he knows what's good for him with the flyweight picture the way it is. And then finally see the return of Ben Saunders against Chris Heatherly. Ben Saunders has had issues with fighters who can grind him out, wrestlers who can grind him out. And Heatherly is a wrestler, and he does grind people out, but his gas tank is terrible. So I love Ben Saunders here by knockout in round 2. Matt Hobart versus Aaron Phillips. Hobart, big price tag. Do not bet. I think Hobart will get the decision. But I have Phillips, he should have the stand-up edge. Hobart should have the grappling edge, but do not bet. Another do not bet, Beneil Dariush versus Tony Martin. Two grapplers here. And once again, do not bet. I like Tony Martin here for the slight upset. Two guys who can still improve, so do not bet. Alex Garcia and Neil Magny. This is a very interesting matchup. One that has caught my eye, one that I've studied. And it's very simple. Neil Magny is going to have to get on his bicycle, play a very, very conservative point type of fight, uses reach, uses length. And Garcia is going to have to bring it to him. Now, Garcia is well aware of his cardio issues. And I would say Neil Magny and Garcia's last opponent, what does he call himself? Black Magic, Sean Spencer. They're about even. They're about Magny and Spencer bring about the same style. Magny a little bit better, but a little bit. But Garcia, all he's got to do is, and it's a tough task, so I shouldn't say all he's got to do. He's got to improve his cardio, and he'll be right where he needs to be. So I know he's been working with Chambers up there, strength and conditioning coach in Canada. So I like Garcia here, but do not bet on this one. I mean, it's so close. I wouldn't be surprised if Magny bicycles his way into a decision, but I really expect Garcia to be able to grab a hold of him, bully him, outmuscle him, and get the win here. Nini Maki versus Skelly. A very interesting matchup here. Nini Maki, obviously the decorated, very, very good jiu-jitsu game, and Skelly, a wrestler with some power. So ultimately, though, when a wrestler fights, if they get into any kind of trouble, they automatically shoot for the takedown. And I think Nini Maki will come back good here. I think Nini Maki will win this fight. Do not bet. Valmir Lazaro versus James Vick. I like Lazaro here. Novo Nyao, very, very good striking. With Vick, we've got a prospect. The guy is very, very hungry. But I think Lazaro will be able to take him on the feet. And James Vick, I've watched him for a while now. He's good, but when the going gets tough, especially as we saw in The Ultimate Fighter, he has a tendency to let up. So Lazaro is going to come in here just like a Brazilian freight train, just ready to rock and roll. So we'll bet Lazaro in a small little round robin inside the distance, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Clay Collard versus Max Holloway. Interesting matchup. Holloway's got a big price tag. He should win, but I'm going to say do not bet because it's the catch weight with the storms going on in Hawaii. It could be a bit of a distraction. Anytime a guy's fighting another guy and now they got to do catch weight and this and that, it can be distracting. So I'm going to say, at first I liked it, but the more I thought about it, the more I looked at it, I'm just going to say do not bet on this one. Holloway should win this fight, though. But Collard starts off like a freight train himself, like a truck with no driver, like Dos Santos said about Brock Lesnar. And and so it could be dangerous for Holloway, and we don't want to risk that. I don't want to risk that. And Francis Carmont versus Thales Leites. Very good matchup. I like this fight a lot. Carmont should win this fight, though. Carmont should get 2 out of the split decision for Carmont, 2 out of the 3 rounds. If not, maybe knock him out. But Leites looked very good, so very back and forth on this fight. Very back and forth. Do not bet. And Jordan Meehan versus Mike Pyle. Meehan should knock him out here. Bless Mike Pyle, but he's towards the end of his career now, and Meehan is going to come very focused, very aggressive in this fight. I see Meehan finishing him by knockout. Rafael dos Anjos versus Benson Henderson. Man, Benson Henderson is just right now. He's just on another level. The guy I want to see him fight is Anthony Pettis. I want to see that rematch. I've got a lot of experience picking these 2 guys. And Ben Henderson, overall, his whole game is better. Ben Henderson's understanding of the MMA game, the MMA rules, just overall his understanding of how to win a fight is just on another level. And I love Ben Henderson here. So that does it for all of that breakdown and going into this and going into that. Now, if I didn't have 21 fights, I would have talked a little bit more about them. But let's get to the good stuff. So, MMA dog bets. 1 unit equals 1% of the bankroll. Now, if you don't bet units, if you don't bet that particular way, it's okay. It's just fine. But keep the ratio the same, meaning, let's say we do 3 units on one bet, and then we do 1 unit on the other. So it's 3 to 1. Keep that same ratio so that in the end, you can still come out ahead and still have a good experience as to what these particular bets are, what they go as. And before we get to the bets, so let me just cover the picks. So 5 stars, you guys know it's all the records are on the front page. But if you're curious, 5 stars are large, huge plays. There's none, unfortunately, very close. 4 stars, medium to large. Ben Henderson, a 4-star pick. He will be a medium play. 3 stars, small to medium. Tyron Woodley just missed a 4-star. He's going to be a very, very solid 3-star medium play. Wilson Hayes, he's going to be and Tyron Woodley could very well be a 4-star here. He really is a very high 3-star. Wilson Hayes, he's going to be a 3-star small play. And Ben Saunders, inside the distance, he's going to be a 3-star small play too. So, moving to the bets, here we go. Don't forget about the ratio. So Tyron Woodley, minus 190, minus 200, minus 2, whatever you get him at, he is worth it. That's where the line should be anyways, if not even a little bit higher. So 3 units to win 1.58. 3 units to win 1.58. So for example, nice and simple example, $300 to win 158. $3,000 to win 1,580. Whatever your unit is, whether it's big, small, huge, tiny, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just keep that ratio the same. Ben Henderson at minus 340 and Wilson Hayes at minus 295. That gives us minus 136. 3 units to win 2.21 units. So example, $300 to win 221. Ben Saunders inside the distance at minus 125, 1.25 units to win 1.0 units. Now, obviously, the props have their limits depending on the books, depending on what the book has limited you to. So for that one, just, max it out. Well, of course, depending on what your limits are, you can have multiple accounts, whatever it may be. But yeah, Ben Saunders inside the distance. So example would be the ratios I was talking about: $125 to win 100, or just just as I said, depending on how much you're betting. Ben Henderson minus 340 and Tyron Woodley minus 190. That's minus 103. So that's 1.03 units to win 1.0 units. So a unit. So example, 103 to win $100. Now, not only are you getting the video, of course, but also all the text files. So you'll get to really see it on paper and see if it's a little bit over your head, or if you're like, what is this about? You'll see it on the text file. It breaks it all down for you. And these are just examples. Like I said, your units may be $3,000. Maybe a unit may be $5,000. Whatever it is, you just adjust it accordingly. And then Tyron Woodley inside the distance at plus 180. That's half a unit to win 0.90 units. And so the example would be $50 to win 90. And then for the round robin of twos. So round robin of twos. If you're not familiar with what that is, just Google it, look it up. Essentially, it's 6 bets. So round robin of twos. Total bet is 0.36 units. 0.36 units. That's a total bet. So if there's 6 bets, each bet will be 0.06 units to win 4.23. So Jordan Meehan inside the distance at even money or plus 100. Valmir Lazaro inside the distance at plus 243. Wilson Hayes inside the distance at plus 251. And Kang Lee inside the distance at plus 466. Wee chow man. So the total bet is 9.14 units. 9.14 units to win 10.92 units. So that does it. A big thank you to all of our clients. I can't wait for tomorrow, today, whatever time zone you're sleeping in, you're living in. I'm very excited for these. I look forward to talking to you guys all real soon. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We've got a whole bunch of exciting fights coming up. I can't wait for it. We're on a very good roll right now. And I'm very thankful for all of our clients. We're having just a great turnout. Yeah, my dog Dan and I really appreciate all of your business. And I'm going to continue to bring you guys the best picks, putting in the time, putting in all the work, doing. I got just notes and notes on top of hours, and I really love it a lot. I really enjoy it, and it's something that I think is very cool. We got people from all around the world. So never bet more than you can afford to lose. Of course, we always want to go in and win. You always want to check your local government laws. There's always a place not too far away that you can bet. Vegas, whether it's wherever you live, just check your local laws. And a lot of respect to all the fighters, men and women, who step into the octagon, because that takes a lot of guts. So, thank you guys for all watching. Check out the website, and you guys have yourself a great night.